afraid. I've wanted that in Arlington for a decade, so it's I think it's a really important civic service that's happened. And these policies have been in effect since November. The mayor's term is 2 years, and in those 2 years, I'll do everything I can to defend that proposal that was accepted, and not put forward any alternatives to water them down, because it's a really, like I said, a learning moment that the residents of Arlington can affect change and can remake their government in the way they see fit. So I think it's important that we really hold that up as a model.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Did you grow up in Arlington?
So my family moved down here in '79. So I was just under 1 year old when we got here. And to Texans, that means that I'm not quite a Texan. My son was born here. And at about 3, he said, "Dad, I know what type of blood I have, Texan." And I was like, wow, they got you early, didn't they? But it's true. So I grew up here, went to Duff, Bailey Junior High, Arlington High, class of '97. Pardon me. And then I left to go to TCU, got my undergraduate in political science and a minor in history. And then I went down to Austin and got a massage therapy license and did that for a few years until I had a kid. And then that was around 2007, about the time I started considering running for office. Mm-hmm. And that first run, it was, at least here in the city of Arlington, it was because I was just picking up a newspaper and I noticed that I think 3 out of the 4 seats up for election were unopposed. And I was like, people deserve that choice. They have to at least have 2 people in order to have a choice. And so it took me a couple of years to get the actual practice of running for office down, to get on the ballot. But since then, I've been doing that. It's really a great way to meet people in Arlington that care.
Yeah.
It's a surprising social network. Yeah.
I had never thought about it that way. That's really true. Mm-hmm. This is a pretty hard-hitting question. What is your favorite pizza place in Arlington?
All right, so this is a really hard-hitting question because I know that pizza is one of the things that we really love.
We do.
And I'm going to have to give a politician's answer. When I want thin crust pepperoni, very simple thin crust pizza, I go to Nizza.
Okay.
I eat a lot of Mamas, though, because I think they really do
delicious.
the Supremes there, like where they just throw everything on there. That's really one of my favorites as well. But to me, pizza really goes with calamari. And for that, I go to Moni's.
Okay.
Because they do just amazing food beyond pizza. So those are my big 3. I'll occasionally hit up Saljo's or Vito Vito's because they're close to my house. Those are Pantego, so I hope that doesn't disqualify them.
It's within
Get out. I had one more question.
Yeah.
From me. Who is your favorite Beatle and why?
Ooh. So personally, I identify with John Lennon. Just the desire to see people evolve to that place where it's so much better for everyone. Practically, though, kind of helped to break up the band. So it's like, it's problematic to like him, but John Lennon's probably mine.
Okay. This is the last question we have here. What would you hope to accomplish first if you were to win?
So my first priority is changing the culture at City Hall, and that's not an easy measurement, So I've kind of proposed that we have 5 town halls each year from each council person to make sure they're out listening. And accomplishing that, I think, could be done with just a little bit of arm twisting within the council. But the thing that I would really want to do first, I think, and I've mentioned this before, I would really like to go talk to Jerry Jones and ask him to put that stadium or to take possession of the stadium. He's had a decade where it's been on the city rolls. So at this point, it's about $20 million subsidy a year between the AISD and the city of Arlington. And he just bought a big old yacht. So
very big yacht.
Yeah. So I think it's time that we appropriately say, hey, come and get it. Let's have a great relationship, but it's time for you to be feeling property taxes just like everybody else in Arlington is. I mean, I don't know if y'all have seen these TAD appraisals that...
I got mine the other day, and I was, whoa.
Yeah,
okay.
It is surprising how those numbers just bounce. And, I have a friend who's an appraiser, and he assures me it's not that they're attempting to raise the values. This is what people are paying. This is literally the market doing it. So as long as there are people moving here willing to pay that kind of money for a house, there's not a whole lot we can do about the actual appraisal values.
Right.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for coming in.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to seeing how this race turns out. And we really enjoyed it. You're welcome back anytime.
Yeah, thank you. I just have one more thought on the Beatles.
Lay it on.
We love the Beatles, so go ahead.
I grew up with 45s. So they're really old stuff. Michelle, I Want to Hold Your Hand, that era of the Beatles. And so I kind of also want to say Paul.
That was kind of my answer too.
Like I said, it's like, how can you what's your favorite part of pizza, the crust or the cheese? Well, people do it so well in different ways. Yeah, but
well, that's what's so great about the Beatles is that each aspect of it was truly unique, and it was a miracle, that they found each other and were able to produce the content that they were, because they're each so different.
And so few bands can manage changing persona even once.
Right.
they were
multiple times.
Yeah, they were really running down the road. So I mean, it really did change a lot of the way we look at music, and it's they are part of that British influence in America. My mom's actually an immigrant, so it's kind of like a cultural affinity for me.
Right.
That and fish and chips.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on, and good luck in the race.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys. It's my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, everyone. We are here with mayoral candidate Ashton Stauffer. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
We are just going to ask some fun questions. We're going to ask a couple of questions about your why you're running. Number one, what makes you right for the office? Why do you want to run for the mayor, and why should the people vote for you?
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to putting Arlington citizens first. It's going to be the first time in a long time that that's happened, and there are 3 different ways that we can do that. So my platform is Arlington Citizens First. There are 3 planks to that, and that is locally owned businesses first. So we've rolled out the red carpet for big business and the owners of sports franchises. But we have encouraged this culture of having the city's foot on the neck of the locally owned business person. And they've done this in different ways. But there are solutions to that. And those solutions are building an ambassadorship, an office of ambassador that acts as a liaison between the locally owned businesses and the city. So it makes the inspection process easier, makes the permitting process easier, instead of things that have happened to me and my friends where you get sent different inspectors, they tell you totally different things, and you're ready to go bankrupt before you ever get open. And then we're also completely over-ordinanced, so we need to go through and comb through these ordinances, and we can update or eliminate. So that's what we can do in regards to locally owned business. We have an illegal immigration problem in this country, but we can definitely do something about it at the city level. And there's something going on that a lot of people don't know about. It's that Mayor Williams was the chairman of the Chamber of Commerce. And so cheap labor is going to work well for these big businesses. When he came into office, we stopped deporting our crime-committing illegal immigrants that were landing in our jails, and there was a reason for that. So he instructed and went along with our chief of police, writing his name on a letter against Texas against sanctuary cities. So we are, in fact, de facto sanctuary city now because of this. We can also, on the flip side of that coin, we can celebrate the people who have set a tone of respect by coming here legally, and we can create an organization that teaches them our rich history, especially here in Texas. We have a rich Tejano history here in Texas that a lot of people don't know about. And then teaching them English well so they can be successful, having jobs in this city, and take them into our community. And then the third plank to my platform is the effective property tax rate. So I actually know the insider information of something that a lot of people don't know about. And when I say they, I mean Mayor Williams' administration used to laugh in private meetings knowing that he would say that he'd lowered property taxes, knowing full well that the Tarrant Appraisal District was going to raise the values of our properties, and so you were going to be paying more. So he could say he lowered property taxes and still get that extra revenue. And so in the last year alone, we've gained $8 million from pre-existing property tax increase from those values. So we can go to the effective property tax rate, and it doesn't matter what the values of your properties, what they value it at, you are not going to be paying more in your property taxes. So that's what I can bring to the table, and I'll stay focused on those things, and I look forward to that resonating with people.
Awesome. What do you see your plan being for the next 5 years? What did you think about the term limits? Does that affect the way that you wanted to proceed if you were to win the election? What do you see the plan for Arlington being over the next 5 years?
Term limits was incredible for a big reason. I actually was part of the beginning of that. There was a race that I went through about 2 years ago trying to get Lana Wolf taken off of city council. And a good friend of mine at the time, Zach Maxwell, and I discussed term limits. And so he contacted me about 2 months before he started really advocating for term limits and said, hey, this is the paperwork I've written up. It does have retroactive language in it. It's going to be 6 years in total. And I said, 6 years is a bit short, to be honest with you. And he said, well, I've already written up the paperwork. I've already got people signing the petition. And I said, okay, well, it's a go. Because with that retroactive language, we're going to go ahead and pluck those 5 sitting city council people who have been there for a very long time, and that was the biggest goal to achieve there. So, we achieved it. The incredible thing about that happening was that people from all ends of the spectrum, they reached across the aisle and they achieved this goal together, which is incredible. I mean, that's what our city can do. We know that. I've got people saying that they would alter it to the 3x3, which is what I had proposed to him in the beginning. I do know that right now the people have spoken. They've spoken for 6 years. They will only have an opportunity to have integrity in the process to speak again should they choose to. But right now, the goal was accomplished. Those 5 people will be taken and are being taken off of city council. But what I would achieve is I would instruct our police officers to start adhering by SB4, which is a very simple thing. It's simply when someone doesn't have their ID, they get pulled over, and they don't speak the language, and let's say they're committing a crime. There were 2 young Hispanic men that had burglarized a home. They did not speak the language. They didn't have the ID, and we chose not to verify if they were immigrants or not. So they were pushed right back out into society. And I would instruct our police officers to verify and then deport. I'm the only candidate in this race that has professional experience with ICE and deportation. I used to be a 911 call take, jailer, and dispatcher. And so I've made that call. I've printed off the simple paperwork. There's a reason we're not doing this, and it's keeping our residents unsafe and our police officers unsafe. So that's one of the first things I would instruct. I would create an officer of ambassadorship for those locally owned businesses immediately. And then I would go through and comb through all those ordinances, which will be a big task, but it will definitely be worth it. There's a reason that Division Street in Arlington looks the way it does. It's not because those businesses don't want to invest in their business. It's because they can't. If they so much as paint the building, here come all of those inspectors, all of the permits, all of the fees. And so they leave it looking the way it does because they don't have a choice. And so when we comb through those ordinances, they will have a choice. And then we'll go to the effective property tax rate immediately. It's a simple mechanism that council and mayor can vote on very quickly, and then you're not paying more on your property taxes.
All right, excellent.
Did you grow up in Arlington?
I
What's
did.
What's your connection here?
I was born and raised in Arlington.
Born and raised, okay.